when the crimes don't make sense and the answers seem far, when justice falls short and we're left with scars. There's a guide through the darkness, a light in the maze. Dr. Rachel walks with us through the mind's tangled ways. She's not treating patients, just helping us see the mysteries of mind. This knowledge comes free. The brain has corridors surpassing material plays. Not every haunting needs walls, just the web we must face. Walking the web through the mystery of the mind, searching for answers that are so hard to find. When violence erupts and when nothing makes sense, we need understanding, a different defense. She helps us make sense through the fog and the fear. Can we balance protection with humanity here? Not cracks but chasms where the broken fall through, when the system fails those who don't know what they do. Should we care for the mind like we care for the heart? When someone's not whole, where does justice start? A chamber, a house, or a web that we weave. The mind holds the secrets we're trying to believe. Walking the web through the mystery of the mind, searching for answers that are so hard to find. When violence erupts and when nothing makes sense, we need understanding, a different defense. She helps us make sense through the fog and the fear. Can we balance protection with humanity here? We're walking a tightrope, it's hard to command between care for the broken and safety's demand. To keep people safe when the danger is real, young and old alike, how do we help them heal? Dr. Rachel brings knowledge to light up the way through the maze of the mind where the answers may lay. Walking the web through the mystery of the mind, justice and mercy can both intertwine. When mental health matters in criminal law, we search for the truth in what nobody saw. She's here for the cases to help us see through, just helping us walk through these cases we see. Can we balance protection with humanity? So welcome Dr. Rachel, walk with us tonight through webs of the mind, helping bring us some light as we travel through darkness, through mysteries that we sail. May justice still prevail. May justice still prevail.
Live on the air, Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Thank you, Doc. Payton was 12 years old when her best friend invited her for a sleepover. She woke up the next morning, played hide and seek in the woods, and ended up being stabbed in her back and all over 19 times. Morgan Geyser was 12 years old at the time when the voices in her head told her Slender Man was real. She believed a fictional internet monster would kill her family if she didn't kill first. Peyton crawled out of the woods after being left alone, fighting for her life. The other girls walked down the highway with a bloody weapon in their possession. 11 years later, Morgan escaped from the group home where she was supposed to be rebuilding her life. And now everybody's asking the same question. Is she a victim of mental illness or is she dangerous? Welcome to Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark, everybody. Greetings to all the trial junkies, the truth seekers, and justice warriors. I'm Z, your storyteller. In the wilderness of injustice, my ride or die doc, riding shotgun as we navigate the darkness where the predators hunt and the system fails us. We're ready to shine a light, though, on the forgotten stories society prefers to leave buried. Doc, are you ready for this one?
Riding on, Z, riding on.
Inside each of our skulls lies the most mysterious web ever woven. Billions of neurons firing, creating our reality, our thoughts, and our very sense of self. But what happens when that web starts spinning different patterns? When the threads connect in ways they shouldn't? When the brain creates monsters that don't exist? Or worse, convinces someone that to delete people for those monsters is the only way for them to survive. Tonight, we're going to entangle the mysterious webs in our brain through the lens of the Slender Man attempted deletion case and the tragedy that shocked the nation over a decade ago that just came back into the headlines this past week because of Morgan Geyser, who escaped from her group home. So, to help us navigate this mysterious web that we're going to be digging through, we have Dr. Rachel joining us tonight, a clinical psychologist who can help us understand the complex intersection of severe mental illness, public safety, and the justice system. So, buckle up, everybody. The path ahead is going to be bumpy as we lead you through another section of this nightmare they call the justice system. So, if you have questions, put in question marks or raise a hand, and the mods and Doc and I will try and catch them. But welcome, Dr. Rachel. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is fun. I like that, like my picture you have up, that's me in the morning. This is me by the end of the day. That's great.
Well, see, I was ready for a new color. I went from green and black to pink and black. You know,
It looks
sometimes you
good.
just need
I
a new
like it.
color. Makes you feel
I
better.
get that. It looks awesome.
But
I
why
love
don't
it.
thank you. And thank you all to everybody that's come in, Crimezilla, Pammy, we have Kerrville, OnlyFan, Irish Amy and Falla, Sailor's Wisdom,
Yay.
Sleuthy Sweetheart, Chris is here. If I've missed anybody, I'm sorry. But when we have a guest, I kind of focus on that. And today I'm going to actually take you back before we get to the current. So let's go back to May 31st, 2014. Okay. And this is in, what's the name of the town, Doc?
Waukesha.
Thank you. Waukesha, Wisconsin. I had to ask the Wisconsin boy.
Don't ever move there, by the way.
Okay.
There's a lot of people out of there that we all know. So yeah, don't ever go there.
Okay. Yeah, Doc's from a small town in Wisconsin. It's not Waukesha, but he
Okay.
can pronounce the things there, which helps.
Okay, good.
And
Well,
of course,
Daryl
he left a
Brooks,
number. Oh, that's
Daryl
true.
Brooks, Shabusiness, the eye drop lady, they're all from there, from Waukesha.
There must be something in the water.
Mhm.
But let's go back to Wisconsin. 2014. Everybody ready? 3 12-year-old girls. A sleepover. That seems normal, but it turned into a nightmare. And that would capture international attention and change everybody's lives forever. Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire invited their classmate Payton. I'm not using Payton's last name. She got enough attention, that poor child. So they invited Payton to Morgan's house for a birthday sleepover, and everything was normal. 3 6th grade girls having fun. But what Payton didn't know was that Morgan and Anissa had been planning something horrific for months. The next morning, they lured Peyton to a wooded area near David's Park in Waukesha. They told her they were going to play hide and seek. They told Peyton to lay down on the ground. Trusting her friends, she did. And that's when Morgan attacked after Anissa told her to go berserk. And she did 19 times, 19 wounds. She plunged a kitchen weapon into her so called friend, hitting her arms, legs, and torso. Anissa stood by, encouraging Morgan to go through with it. They left Peyton there to die, a 12-year-old child bleeding out in the woods. And these were supposed to be her friends. But Peyton is a survivor, a little girl. With all those injuries, she drug herself out of the woods and a bicyclist found her on the sidewalk and she was rushed to the hospital. Doctors said she had come within a millimeter of a major artery, 1 millimeter between life and death. 5 hours after the attack, they find Morgan and Anissa walking down Interstate 94, still carrying the bloody weapon. When questioned, they told the investigators they did it for Slender Man. Dr. Rachel, before we go further, when we're talking about 12-year-old children
Mhm.
and Morgan, you know, attacks her 19 times, that's not a single impulsive act. That's sustained
Mm-mm.
violence. So, from a psychological standpoint, what does that level of violence in a child kind of tell us?
Well, this is a loaded case, and that's a loaded
Yeah, I
question. I
know.
think I think in hindsight, we know a lot more about Morgan. We know that there was allegedly a lot of trauma in her early childhood. She was suffering from psychosis, um, and so in short terms, that means that she was not able to distinguish fantasy from reality. And she had
Okay.
been had some obsessive qualities. I would characterize them as it's not a diagnosis, but just obsessive quality, some obsession with this Slender Man character, right? Who she believed was real, and was able to convince her friend Anissa that he was also real. Sort of this shared, what became sort of a shared psychotic disorder among 12-year-olds. And I will say that this is a really rare condition to see in a 12-year-old. Childhood onset schizophrenia is not common. It is very
Okay.
rare. Um, we typically see those symptoms emerge in, late teens, early 20s for people, and women
Right.
and females much later. It can be much later. So, I mean, my conceptualization based on the very little information we have, because we don't know everything, is that this was
No.
somewhat triggered by trauma and perpetuated by, you know, her obsessive, thoughts and her break from reality. And yeah, and I would, although she knew it was real in her mind, this had a positive outcome. I mean, none of this is going to make
Right.
sense to any of us, right? I mean, it's psychotic thought
Exactly.
process. So hopefully it doesn't make sense to anybody. um, so, in her in her mind, she was doing this because she had to in order to achieve this next level of whatever, that's next stage in her life where she was going to go serve this fictional character.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think that kind of is like a really short summary of probably what was going on with her.
So does that suggest like a lack of empathy, or is it just part of the delusion that they
It's
genuinely
part of,
believed this was necessary?
mhm. Yeah, part of the delusion. It's hard. Empathy is a hard thing, especially when you're talking about a 12-year-old. I don't know how many of you guys know 12-year-olds, but there's very much still a level of selfishness, and not that they can't have empathy, but it's not out of the realm of possibility in combination with the psychosis that just wasn't a like the benefit outweighed the risk or
Right.
the harm that was going to be done.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
And
she
for those
wasn't
of you
thinking
that
about this logically. This was, again, it
mm,
was a thought disorder. So this isn't some logical sequence of thoughts that led to that behavior.
Right.
right. And for those of you that don't know, Slender Man is a fictional horror character that originated online on what's called creepypasta. This is internet horror legends that get copied and pasted across forums and websites. That's how they came up with the name. They combined creepy with copy and paste. Creepypasta. So Slenderman is depicted as this tall, thin, faceless figure in a black suit who stalks and abducts children. And he became one of the most notorious creepypasta stories, spawning thousands of stories, you guys, images and videos. But here's the thing, it's fiction. It was created in 2009 by someone on an internet forum. It's not real. But to Morgan Geyser, it was real, very real. And she believed that if she didn't delete someone, that he was going to harm her family. And so this brought creepypasta into the mainstream news. And it did raise serious questions about how the online horror content can influence vulnerable young people who struggle to separate fantasy from reality. And I think, like Dr. Rachel has said, at 12 years old, maybe it's a little harder, at that age, because they don't have the life experience either, you know. Um, Take it to trial, and her viewers have just joined. Thank you all.
Hey,
Hey,
fam.
Southern gal, Dawn. So glad you're here. So after this happened, though, creepypasta websites actually issued statements reminding readers about the line between fiction and
Mhm,
reality. So they took it seriously, which to me is amazing that they
Yeah,
did.
mhm.
that's amazing for a social site like that. So,
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I want, I so badly want to say, like, parents monitor your kids online,
yeah.
but for somebody like, which, yes, you totally should, but also someone like Morgan, it would have been something else. Do you know what I mean? So it's not,
Okay.
even if she was not allowed to access that, I mean, she had a mental illness. She was psychotic before. And so
Okay.
actually, I was listening to one of the previous hearings, and it reminded me that even before this happened, there was history documented of some strange behaviors and some things she
o-
got in trouble for at school that were potentially predictive of some violent behavior in the future. And um, so it would have been something because the psychosis
Yeah.
was going to emerge. It
Yeah.
wasn't her accessing this website that caused her to become psychotic, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Um, but like you
And that
said,
could,
vulnerable kids accessing that
yeah.
stuff, could be a source of content for them.
Hmm.
And I think at 12, wouldn't you agree that kids are a little more still into fantasy and maybe aren't as in touch with the reality,
Yes,
some of them. So
some of
that
them.
this would be, you have those children that are
Hmm.
12 that have the old soul, as we say,
Right.
and but there are those that really do don't quite understand the
Hmm.
difference between reality and fantasy.
Well, right. And if you don't have um, that home base, supportive, healthy family unit, friends, social network that you can like bounce things off of to reality test, that's also
Right.
really tough. And I can't tell you how many times a day my kids come to me and say, "Did you know that this is true?" And I'm like, "Where did you hear that?" And they're like, "On YouTube Shorts." I'm like, "Yeah, that's not true." And so, like, if you don't have those people to go to confide in, to say like, "Oh my gosh,
Right.
what is this? Is this real?" Then that makes it even harder. So,
There was
Fala's
one
got a
question.
question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
oh,
Yeah, Fala's got one for you. Rachel, can someone that young be formally diagnosed as psychotic or things like that? Isn't there an age?
no. So for psychosis, no, you can be diagnosed as a child with a psychotic disorder. There's no age. The personality disorders are not diagnosed until age 18. Um,
Okay.
yeah, because I mean, in my opinion, they probably shouldn't be diagnosed except for describing
Only
traits until they're
okay.
26, because we
Yeah,
know the
yeah.
brain is still developing and identity is still forming.
I guess Film Freak had a question. Does anyone remember what the question was? If someone can find that question for us, that would be helpful.
There was somebody under the name of
Game.
looks like Game Two.
Hmm. That's him.
That would that's Film Freak. Okay.
Oh, film. Okay. Do you think Morgan will get the proper treatment she needs?
So
Uh,
that, yeah, yeah. So I can't 100% say this. I know she doesn't have new charges in Illinois. They did not press charges in Illinois. So all of her
Right.
existing issues are related to the escape, the cutting of the monitor, and that happened in Wisconsin. And so she's in jail until her next hearing. And I
Right.
believe that with the conditional release being revoked, she goes back to the hospital. So
Okay.
not to jail because she's not guilty by reason of insanity. So I think if they and she was given 40 years there, and so this conditional release, if revoked or broken, she goes back to where she already was. And so yes, I think she will. And I guess when you ask, will she get the treatment she needs? Like, yeah, she will. I think the treatment that she needs is a complicated question that we can only really assume a lot from. Um, but we'll probably get into that because
Okay.
I view her release and all of this stuff very, I think, probably differently, or maybe a little. Um, Hopefully, I
Right.
can explain some of that to everyone to inform opinions. But um,
And Katrina had a question. She says, "Is it
mhm.
realistically manageable to live any sense of a normal life for her?"
Her life is
And that's
not
a
gonna
deep
be the
question.
same as everyone else's, like, from 12 years old on, she's been institutionalized. I mean, think about from how you were at age 12 until how you are now and how much has done. I don't know how
Yeah.
old you are, but let's say from 12 to 23, picture yourself at those 2 ages, how different you are, and all of that development and personality structure and everything that developed during that time, maturity, social interactions. I mean, nothing has been normal for her. And so her life will look very different from ours. And
Right.
I think the institutionalization piece of it and her lack of socialization with quote unquote healthy, normal people and peers is is mostly what has contributed to this escape from the group home. I think that there's a
Yeah.
huge social deficit there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Pammy, we'll probably get to your question because she says, oh, where'd it go? Uh, it was in there somewhere. What will happen now? We'll get there.
Mhm.
Let's continue for just a little bit further, and we won't forget your
Yeah.
question, Pammy, because that is important. And everyone that's come in, thank you for coming and stopping in to
Yeah.
see us. Um,
Hey, Barbara.
but
hey, Barbara. That is yes, yeah, that is Dr. Rachel.
yep, the one and only. So this is a poster from the HBO documentary Beware of the Slender Man because they really explored the case in detail, talking about a cautionary tale between the dangerous intersection of mental illness and internet culture and children being able to access it. But this is where I want to ask you also if Morgan believed this fictional character was real and was commanding her to delete someone, and Anissa Wire, her friend, went along with it. And we know there is a thing called foyer à deux, which is when two people have madness. Do you think this is something that they went through, or was Anissa just influenced differently?
I don't remember or know what Anissa was diagnosed with, if it was this,
Okay.
or if it was an organic psychotic disorder, meaning like biological, not
Right.
manipulated or brainwashed into it. But so I'm not really sure about that. I think, you know, regardless, she was heavily socialized and influenced by Morgan.
Right.
Morgan was, I believe, the original person who believed that had this belief and then convinced her friend that this is
Right.
what needed
Well,
to happen.
it was interesting. I caught Anissa's father on the stand, and
Oh,
they asked him about her having a mental illness, and he said, "I don't think she does." I was
okay.
just like,
Yeah. I
"Whoa."
mean, I don't
He said
know.
that, and they still
Well,
that kinda
I,
shocked me that her own father said that.
yeah. I mean, it's her dad, and like, I don't know how psychologically sophisticated her family is. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people don't believe in mental
That's true.
illness. So it's like, I don't
That's a
know.
fact.
Um,
Yeah,
and,
therapists, you know,
and some people just,
stigma.
yeah, and some people just don't know what they're looking at when they see, when they see it, and who knows? I don't know what her level of supervision was. How much time did they even spend with her? I don't know. Was she in
Right,
trouble at school, or was everything fine? I don't really know the details much about her. Um, but at the very least, that she was, whether she had a psychotic disorder or not, she was heavily influenced by Morgan and that social pressure,
right.
and yeah.
And so for the our listeners that have children right now, what would be warning signs? At what point does a child's fascination with like dark content
Mhm.
cross a line from just typical adolescence interests
Mhm.
into perhaps something more dangerous?
Yeah, I think that it's important when, if you have a kid that's into this type of stuff, to talk to them about what it means to them. Like, what do they think about it? What is it about it that piques their interest? You know, I think it think about it like we are into true crime, right? We follow all this
Right.
horrible stuff, and if someone ever saw my search history, they would be like, lock her up, you know what I mean? So, like, I
Yeah.
think it's
I'm right
important.
there with I'll be in the cell
Yeah,
next to you.
right, yeah, we'll be like, "We're fine." I don't think so.
Exactly. I got my psychologist right next to me.
I know, I'm like, "And I'm fine, I swear." Um, but, like, so I think it's important to understand context and what meaning they are
Right.
attaching to it. Is it like, I don't know, it's just creepy, or like, I like horror movies because I like jump scares, or, like those kinds of things, or um is it deeper than that, or is it a
Right.
really illogical, confusing answer, or is it for shock value, or is it because all,
Right.
all my friends are into this, so when we hang out, this is what we watch. There's so many different
Yeah.
levels to it, and I think you don't want to jump to this conclusion that, like, oh my gosh, you draw creepy stuff, like, ugh,
Yeah.
my daughter's a teenager and she loves Stranger Things. She watches it with
Right.
her dad, which is
Mhm.
fine. I'd rather her watch it with him. But like, I'm not into that kind of like show, and I'd probably rather
Right.
her not watch it. But I know that she isn't absorbing that. Like,
Right.
in discussions with her, she just loves the storyline and the anticipation, and like, it's kind of shocking, but she's not like internalizing that. She doesn't want to become those people. She doesn't want to be in those situations. She doesn't want to see what it's
Okay.
like. You know what I mean? So I think that's the big difference.
See, and the funny thing is, I can handle the true crime and all the gore that goes with that, but
Uh-huh.
I can't do horror shows. I
Same
cannot
here.
do them. I still today, if Doc put Jaws on, there are a couple of scenes I would still jump. I know they're coming,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
still jump. And those aren't even horror; those are just, So
Listen,
yeah,
the ocean's
I
scary, okay?
Oh, there's a comedy out, that was years ago, it was called Foul Play with, Goldie Hawn and, Chevy Chase, and there's a spot where she's being chased by these people that are trying to get something from her, and one of them's an albino guy, so he's
The
got white hair and these,
albino.
freaky eyes, and all of a sudden, he jumps up in front of her kitchen window. I still scream, and I know it's coming. I mean, that's just like so it's not even the ocean. It's just there are
Right.
certain movies that and I don't like that. I get so mad at myself. Like,
Yeah,
I know this was gonna happen.
yeah. But this is a
But
really
both of the
important
group
question to ask, though, because I
okay.
think, because even with her conditional release hearings and the analysis of whether or not she was a danger. These issues came up of a book that she was reading that maybe wasn't that had violent themes, these drawings that she was doing that were like horror in nature. And a friend of mine saw the drawing that she did, and she was like disturbed by it. She's like, I cannot believe she drew, like, I'm so disturbed. And I was like, I mean, I think it's all
Yeah.
relative. Like, I've seen people draw a lot of really sick crap, and like, it doesn't mean it's not meaningful to them, or it doesn't preclude any sort of behavior or psychotic thought process or whatever. And I
Yeah,
think,
we had a friend that had a girl around that same age that was drawing some weird stuff after her parents got divorced.
mhm, yeah,
You know, like someone losing an arm or,
hmm
things like that. And I mean, she's now happily married and grown up to be a
hmm
nice adult, but she went through a very awkward stage,
sure.
after her parents divorced.
And of
So,
course,
I guess I
that's,
can see I
in
I can see
developmental
your point about the
context.
drawings.
hmm And of course, that's concerning, and you should ask about that stuff, right? I mean, and sometimes
Right.
it is just an expression of negative emotion, and like, way better to do it that way than to go do something,
Yeah.
act out. And I think that was part of what Morgan was telling her therapist is like, it does help me express negative emotion, and it helps me to not feel like I have to act out or do those things. Like the way that she described it in the evaluation for conditional release was that, like, this is essentially like kind of a coping thing for me. It's not an expression of my desire to go do something horrible. Um,
Right.
so it's really hard to separate that because we have context for this, that when she was 12, she did this really horrible thing, right? So,
Right.
Now, Curville's made commented. I wonder how she conned everyone to get released. Do you think what was she on? Was she on medication in when she was in the hospital?
so she was, and then she got off of the medication because she wanted to, and she decided to tell everyone that she was faking psychosis the whole time, and she never actually had those symptoms. And I think that she said that because she thought it would help her to get released, because if she wasn't mentally ill, then they wouldn't have that concern
Yeah.
about her being out.
Okay.
And I think it backfired on her,
Oh,
because then they were like,
Okay.
first of all, that reflects that you have no insight into what you have presented with. There were years of documents, of documentation supporting from different people at different times, not even always people that talk to each other, describing odd behaviors they saw from her, disorganized behaviors, her responding to internal stimuli, like all these things that we look for when we're trying to determine whether or not there's psychosis. So no, I don't think that she conned anyone, and that's because I don't think that her release, or I don't think that her escape was based in psychotic thought process or psychopathy or anything necessarily that had to do with dangerousness, um, imminent dangerousness.
hmm
My conceptualization of it is that this is an extremely immature person who
Okay.
has never been able to socialize with in a normal setting with her peers who are healthy, and um, you know her experience at the hospital has been probably with a lot of older people since she's become an adult, because once you're 18, I mean, she could be in the hospital with 50, 60-year olds at that point. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that she is very vulnerable and naive. And I know people aren't going to like hearing me say that, but I think of her as a younger teenager still, in terms of
Okay.
her ability to navigate the social world.
hmm
And she clearly has history of finding these people that are not age appropriate for her, that don't have her
Right.
best interest in mind. And she found another person like that out on the
Exactly.
outside. We don't know exactly what kind of influence that person had on her, but I can say that this is a much older person who should know better and did
Yeah.
not stop her.
Now,
And tell her
Now,
this isn't a
therapist,
good
you know,
decision.
wants to know
Okay,
if you
that was
think
good.
the judge made a bad decision letting her have conditional release.
I don't know because I mean, hindsight's
Okay,
2020, right? I
right,
think the information that he had and the way that it was explained by her treatment providers, there was no imminent risk. Well, there's always going to be risk in her profile because of what she did. Always. That's a static factor, right?
right,
It's never going to change. But there was no imminent risk to herself or others under the conditions of the release. And so, no,
right,
I don't think that he made the wrong decision at the time based on what he had. No one can
right,
predict human behavior. No one,
No.
we do the best we can with the risk assessment tools that we have. And
right.
he did not have enough to say, she's dangerous. And I still doubt that she's dangerous. I think this was an
Okay,
immature, socially underdeveloped, stupid move. And she
right,
clearly had no idea what she was doing after she left. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what were you
right.
gonna do? Go to Nashville and be a rock star? Like, I mean, what was your end goal
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Like, um,
Exactly.
the
Well,
person she chose to go
OnlyFan
with, yeah,
makes a point, and I wanted to get your thought on that. She did something criminal, not psychotic, when she broke her ankle monitor and ran away.
yep,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
she did.
That was criminal.
Yes,
That
it was.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
So that's why she might have some criminal charges coming up.
She might.
yeah.
Yeah,
She might.
you
I mean,
know.
I think she should, right? I mean, you can't break
Yeah,
the
I mean, there
law.
has
Like,
to be consequences.
yeah. So I don't think
There
that's the
ha
thing. I don't think that this had anything to do with her mental health other than, I mean, you could say it does in terms of like just personality and immaturity and that kind and developmentally, but
Mhm.
I don't think that the judge made the wrong decision in looking at her symptom profile and saying, okay, you can go to the next step. So I wanted to explain a little bit about what the hospital probably looked like for her at this point and why they were saying it's
Okay,
time for another
Mhm.
step down.
Yep.
So she didn't go from a completely locked facility where she can't see the light of day to this. In these forensic hospitals, typically there are different buildings and they have different levels of security. Um, the
right,
hospital itself is secure, right? She can't leave the grounds without being escorted and that kind of thing, but the actual area, so typically they'll have buildings that are locked when you first get there, and you can go outside, but it's in a little courtyard that's also locked. It's very highly monitored, but as you're there, especially over years time, you can go to step down facilities where you're locked in, but then you can go on walks with your therapist outside, and you don't have to always,
right.
you can go to the library with a group, you can, that kind of thing.
And
You
she'd
have
got to that point, right? She'd
well,
got
even
to that
beyond
point.
that, and I think she went
Yeah,
even beyond that. So then the next step, because that would still be like your room looks like a hospital room and that kind of thing. The next step, some campuses even have like little cottages, and it's sort of like
okay,
assisted living, but within a secure hospital. And so you have roommates, you have a kitchen, you have, so like you guys go out, you grocery shop, you buy your food, you have a role in the house, you have chores to do. So they try to make it more transitional, right, for people to learn life skills and
right.
conduct themselves, like try to get that community experience, but within the locked greater grounds.
Facility,
So
right.
I would imagine that that's more or less what she was doing then. It was less hospital-y and more like group home-ish. Um,
Okay,
and because she was able to get jobs, supported employment within the hospital, um, where she could go like work at the library or whatever and earn some wages, but get that life experience. And that's part of the reason why they didn't support her initial release a year ago, was because she hadn't had enough of that experience yet. They wanted her
right.
to like consistently hold a job there and that kind of stuff for a while. Um, so I don't think so. So once you're at that point, if you're successfully doing that and you haven't hurt anyone, you haven't hurt yourself, you have a 99 or what does she have, a 99% group and therapy attendance rate. Like she was doing everything. I think you can never predict that structure is going to help or hurt them. And I don't know the specifics of what the structure was like where she went. Imagine
Right.
that when I was hearing the people testify that worked for DHS versus, which is like the Department of Health Services, who are like liaisons to the community between the forensic psych hospital and the outside. So they're the ones that
Right.
wrote the conditional release plan with the recommendations and input from the therapist, right? And I could tell from the way everyone testified, there is a lot of tension and bad communication between those
Okay.
entities. And so
Right.
my thought was, I wonder what type of home she actually went to and how well this was set up. Um, we don't
Okay.
know those details.
Well,
I
I've
don't
got a few
understand.
details.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
I do have some details. So,
Mhm.
let's see. We've already discussed that. So let's go ahead and because let's see. Okay, here's one thing I wanted to touch before we got there
Mhm.
is her mom, Angie, was not surprised when Morgan was diagnosed with early onset schizophrenia, and that was because her father was a schizophrenic.
Oh.
And he had been hospitalized about 4 times as a teenager for
Mm,
treatment, and he even was on disability as a schizophrenic. So there's a clear genetic component here that nobody recognized or addressed before the
mm,
attack. Um, and during the trial, expert witnesses did testify that Morgan was experiencing the auditory hallucinations and delusions, about the Slender Man being real. So that kind of there had to be signs before, and I don't know why her father and her father's doctor never gave them the hint that, "Hey, you have a couple of kids. There
yeah.
is a genetic component here because it can be passed down,"
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
She had brought a hammer to school once and got expelled or suspended because of it. I mean, there were definitely signs.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, that poor kid. I mean, there's things that I feel bad for, and then there's things that's like, "You're spooky, child. You're spooky."
Well, it can be both.
But yeah,
Both things
2
can be
things
true.
can be the same time because they did try him as adults, as we know. She got 40
Mhm.
years in a psychiatric institution, the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. And then I already told you about Anissa's dad who he said his daughter didn't have any mental illness as far as he was concerned. It's like, "Good lord, your daughter was up for second-degree
I
homicide,
know,
and
like,
you're sitting there in a witness stand just practically going, 'Here, take her.'"
send her to
And he
jail.
was
Yeah.
sentenced to 25 years, but she got released after only 4. She got released in
Mhm.
2021 under
And to
strict
her family.
supervision and to her family. And we really haven't heard a lot about her since, so I presume it's going well,
Yeah, I think
because
someone had mentioned, like, I don't know if it was, Nate Eat not Nate Eaton, what's his name? Brian Enton was
okay,
saying that, Anise has been successful. Her conditional release has been successful thus far. She still has an ankle monitor,
right.
um, and she's with
What
family.
at what age can schizophrenia be detected in children? Because I know it's rare, you said, but
Yeah.
is there
I'm trying to think of what the youngest person. I mean, like, I mean, very rare, and I've only seen it on TV, right? Like
right.
documentaries, 7 years old, 8 years old, signs of
I
it.
think I remember that case, a little girl,
Uh-huh.
wasn't it?
Yep. And that was legit.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's not
yeah,
very well understood, but yeah, I mean,
right.
I've never seen psychosis in a child that young that wasn't actually trauma, not organic schizophrenia.
Well, and we also have to put it out there that usually, let's say on the streets, if you have people that are homeless and schizophrenic, they're usually the ones being victimized. They're
Yes,
usually
correct.
not the ones committing the crimes. It does happen occasionally, and we do hear of the stories where someone
Mhm.
what does, but normally they are the victims.
Right,
They're not the ones that are committing the crimes. Oh,
right.
Janie Schofield was that little girl's name.
Yes,
Janie
yes,
Schofield.
yes, yes.
Thank
Uh-huh.
you,
Yep, she had
Sins and Secrets.
yeah, she had the, voice, that she named 7. Like, her voices and stuff had different numbers to them, like, there were certain numbers associated with
Right.
stuff, and, like, she's a very interesting person. Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
really,
I and
really,
I
really rare.
and I think another thing that people don't understand with schizophrenia, because we have some in our family, a person with schizophrenia, and a lot of times when they're on their medication and they start feeling good, they think, "I don't need the medicine anymore
Mhm.
Yeah.
because I'm
Yep.
fine." And then they go off of it and they have an episode,
Mhm.
and so they have to go back on.
Mhm.
And there are those that they mask it with alcohol and drugs. It's not that they want an addiction, they're trying to mask the symptoms,
Mhm. Can I
you know?
and I wanna go
So
back really quick to what
okay,
Curville asked. What was it Curville
sure.
who said, "How did she con them?"
Yeah,
Wait, what
I
is he
think so.
talking about? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna flip-flop you, Curville. But anyway, so I think I don't think she conned them. I think she did very well with the structure she was in. And I think that the group home that she went to or whatever this home was needed to be very similar to the structure she already had. Like there are different
Okay,
levels of step down homes, right? And so I think,
right,
you know, I have a lot of questions. Why did she have a room with a window on the first floor?
right.
Why was she in an ankle monitor that could be cut off with scissors?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why, like why was she going to this church and was anyone monitoring? I think there was someone monitoring the social interaction because they didn't want him to come to the house anymore. But why did they let him in the
right,
first place? So like I
right,
have a lot of questions. Like you want her to make adult decisions but if you see her not making adult decisions, that's the whole point. Someone needs to intervene.
right,
And I'm curious what the therapy structure was like. Was it just once a week? Because she was probably getting therapy every single day at the hospital. So
right,
like I just have a lot of questions about how loose the structure was for her on the
right,
outside that led to, and I'm not blaming anyone else for this. I'm just saying that when it comes to someone like her who has high potential to make these types of choices, that's why she's on conditional release. That's why they
Mm.
didn't just release her by. They
right.
were still recognizing that she needs help, right? So, and it was her choice,
Exactly. Right,
but there should have also been structure in place to make the risk of this happening very, very low,
Right.
right.
if that
Now,
makes sense.
Barbara, she says that we're scaring her because her adopted son's biological father has paranoid schizophrenia.
Mhm.
Mm.
That doesn't mean that he's going to have it. There's a chance he could become schizophrenic, but there's a chance he might not. It's just being aware of the symptoms and making sure if something appears that you get help, correct?
Right. So genes are expressed with the proper environmental, conditions and experiences and that type of thing. So a child who only has one parent who has schizophrenia, and we have to assume that that father was correctly diagnosed. Okay, I'll just throw that out there. But
Okay.
let's assume he is like around, I think, like a 10 to 14-ish% that the offspring will develop schizophrenia later in life. So it's not like
Right.
a high percentage of chance, and it also would require, some triggering events and things like that. So,
Mhm.
and with proper
Yeah.
support and early detection, people can be still live very productive, successful lives. It's when it goes
Right.
untreated and unrecognized and that sort of thing.
Pammy made the comment that sometimes it feels like schizophrenia is mistakenly overused. Um,
Mm.
how or maybe diagnosed a little bit too much. I guess I don't really. I like to know what your feeling is on that. Is because
Mhm.
I'm like there's probably more schizophrenics out there than we realize.
I would say you have to look at context and relativity, because I can start to think that the severe mental illness rate is like 90% in the world because of what I do, right? Because
Hmm.
90% of the people I interact with do have severe mental illness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
like, when we follow true crime and we follow these cases and we're interested in these kinds of topics, it can seem like it's more than it is. And we also, of course, are going to see cases where it was misdiagnosed, because then that like creates a big story and somebody usually brings that to light, right? And so,
Right.
um, so yeah, I would that bipolar disorder is probably very, not very often, but more often than a lot of other disorders, misdiagnosed, because there's so much overlap with bipolar
That's
disorder, and
exactly what Avery said.
there's a lack of understanding. Oh, there's a lack of understanding of what bipolar disorder actually is. Like, I can't tell you how many people are like, yeah, I'm diagnosed bipolar. I'm like, well, when you were diagnosed, what was going on? They're like, well, somebody did this little thing and I got really mad and I pounded the table. And I'm like, well, that's not bipolar. So, like, that's like all they can tell me. I'm like, okay, well, um,
Yeah.
it's easy to throw bipolar disorder at any kind of behavioral dysfunction in an adult. But anyways, I'll get off
Yeah.
that soapbox. I don't think that
Oh,
schizophrenia is overdiagnosed.
okay.
Um, I think
Drunky the Bear says Dr. Rachel looks so young tonight. She looks like she just graduated college.
oh my gosh, shut up.
You became her new favorite person, Drunky the Bear.
I love you. I love you.
Sins
That
and
was a long time
Secrets,
ago.
Avery said she just got her degree in psychology.
Oh
Awesome.
yay, good job. Congrats. That's awesome. Very cool.
That is.
Yeah, I yeah, I think, let's just, even if schizophrenia is overdiagnosed, let's just say it was. This girl has been
Okay.
monitored and charted on a daily, probably hourly basis from 12 years old until 20, how is she, 23 now? Do you know how the
Yes.
volume of information that there is about her? This girl's not
Oh,
misdiagnosed.
yeah,
Like,
the paperwork must be insane.
oh, I don't know how they even got through all of it with these evaluators, but like, it's insane how much paperwork is done by every day by a nurse, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a tech. Like, all of those people are charting every day on behavioral observations of this person. And there is no way that she conned everybody. This many
Yeah.
people, and especially like the two psychologists, well, one, or the psychiatrist who doesn't even work, he's like in California in some rural land or whatever. Like, he evaluated her on a few different occasions, and then most recently for the conditional release. So he wasn't even involved every day with her. Like, they had some people that were kind of separated out from her who wouldn't be easily manipulated, um, by like knowing her and caring about her and that kind of thing. So
Yeah. And when we stop and think about it, she was found guilty of reason of mental disease or defect. And we understand the legal reasoning for this. But does that mean, to help the listeners understand, does that not, that doesn't mean not guilty? If she didn't
no,
know
that
what she
doesn't.
was doing was wrong, or she couldn't control it, even though she might have known it was wrong.
So it's different in different states. I'm gonna look this up really quick. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. So it is a not guilty. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it is a not guilty. Um, so let's see here. Defendant must establish to a reasonable certainty, yeah, that because of her mental disorder, she was not responsible for the criminal behavior. Um, she lacks, it says the exact wording is, lacks substantial capacity either to appreciate the wrongfulness, or conform to her conduct to the requirements of the law. And so,
Right.
because of her delusional belief, that was determined to be the case.
Okay.
Um, she
And
pled
this was,
guilty, and then they found her in GRI, I believe is how that went.
yeah. And this was her judge, who
Mhm.
is since retired. He retired in April of this year.
I hope his
And
cough is gone.
he was a sweet man. He was.
He was.
And like you said, I think he was dealing with the best information we had. And moving forward to this year, when she turned 23, after spending 7 years, she did apply for conditional release
Mhm.
4 different times in the last 2
Right.
years, because they allowed them to, petition every 6 months, which I don't know about you, but I think that's awful quick. I think that would put a strain on the victims, feeling like they
Yes.
constantly be on guard.
Well, I think the person has the right to apply, but then what happened in 20 I think it was 2022, she applied
Right,
and then the treatment providers didn't back her up, and she withdrew it.
right,
So she's like, "Yeah,
right.
never mind. I'm not gonna get this." And that's when I think she started to be like, "Okay, well, they think I'm mentally ill, so now I'm gonna say that I'm not because maybe that will help." Like, I think this is why I think she's
Okay,
really smart, but I think she's so immature.
okay.
Like, I just think she
So
is
that
so immature.
so that's and Katrina, you're right, it depends on the state how often they can reapply.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So this, like, social
and
problem solving is part of that. So people with psychotic disorders often there's often a deficit that is, occurs and is lasting in terms of social problem solving, and it's stuff
okay,
that we're like, "What?" Like, how can you be this smart but not understand that this doesn't make any sense? Like, an example would be her saying, "Oh, I was just faking it the whole time." Like, really? Like, no one's gonna believe that, like, with all this documentation, but you still think that they're going to. Do you know what I mean? It's like this really, like, not understanding how others are going to perceive things or, like, what the
right,
next logical step is. I had a, I had an evaluation I did with a woman who, um, her roommate passed away on the couch, and it was, like, 3 days before anybody found out because she was like, "Oh, he's just sleeping." And then she thought it
oh,
was
wow,
weird she thought it was weird that he was just sleeping, but she didn't think, like, I should go over and be like, "Hey, are you okay?" Like, she never thought about that being a good idea, and you're like, "What? How?" Like, those are the kinds of decisions that I feel like are difficult for her. Like, just these social
okay.
things that just don't quite connect. I think that's a product, and that's often a product of psychotic disorders.
And when she had the trial, there were 3 doctors involved in her treatment, because Dr. Rachel and I both took time to go over these trials, or this hearing,
Mhm.
it wasn't a trial,
Hearings,
to
yeah.
see about her progress. And the thing was, they had weaned her off of her antipsychotic medication, and they said she was showing no symptoms,
Mhm,
and she'd improved her coping skills. They said she had engaged in treatment consistently, and they really believed she was ready for
mhm,
community
mhm,
reintegration. In fact, one doctor, this one, Dr. Ken Robbins, he testified, and I wanted to ask you about that, that keeping
mhm.
Morgan institutionalized would actually make her more dangerous. The longer she's in there at this point, the harder it's going to be to reintegrate her, and she could become defeated with treatment and lose hope.
Yeah,
But here's where it got concerning for me, because you had the prosecutors and the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. They were opposing it because of the books she was reading
mhm,
and about selling organs on the black market without telling her therapy team. And she was communicating with a guy that collect murder memorabilia. Um, and she wasn't being fully transparent with the treatment providers. But
mhm,
despite this, Judge Michael Boren went ahead and he did give her allowed
mhm,
herself to be conditionally
mhm,
released. So, what are your thoughts about those two things, about the reading material and
mhm.
also associating with a man that is collecting murder stuff?
Right.
Which
So I think that we'll start with the guy that she's communicating with. I think that this is a good example of the social problem solving situation, not fully realizing like what exactly was going on with that like with that relationship and interaction, like not fully being able to conceptualize that relationship. Once she did
Okay.
realize, when it was brought to her attention, like, hey, like, this guy's doing this and that, and this is what that means. Like, then she did cut off
Okay.
his visits, and she did ask for help with a restraining order so that he couldn't contact her anymore. And to what this guy was saying, what Dr. Robbins was saying is like, that's what we want her to be doing. Like, that's a good
Right.
decision, like that she came to. It took some help getting there,
Okay.
but like that's the kind of like real life, experience she needs to have in order to like continue to make good decisions and to protect herself. And like he said in his testimony, there are probably going to be people in the world at some point that reach out to her like this. And like, thank goodness
Right.
that happened while she was in the hospital so that she could learn from that situation. Now, hold everybody's thoughts. I
Right.
know what you're thinking right now. But also the book was one of like tons of books that she had read over time. So it wasn't like she had
Right.
this
Okay.
fixation on this type of material. She was reading, like he mentioned a bunch of different classics that she had read, like varying materials. Now, this one, he
Right.
asked, so this is what I was saying, like, you need to find out what the meaning is behind it. Like, what does she like
Okay.
about this book? Did she even like this book? And what he said is that she wasn't fixated on any of the characters.
Okay.
She knew it was fictional. She wasn't drawn to it
Okay.
because of these certain, like, violent themes. It was just a book that showed up that she, you know what I mean? Like, so there wasn't
Right.
meaning attached to it. There
So
was
she
no
went to the
psychotic thought
library and
process.
it was just a book she pulled out and
Yeah, or it was like sent to the hospital. I can't remember, like books that come in, like I don't remember
right.
exactly, but it wasn't anything she was fixated on. And the drawings we kind of discussed before. Um, and this guy that she had been communicating with, I guess, was like, hey, can you draw this for me? And then he was selling her drawings, and like she didn't totally get that right away. Um, but I think he's right in that there's it's like limited in what she can learn in that setting, right? I mean, she's not going to have a lot of real life varying experiences while she's at the hospital. Um,
Right.
Again, I think the breakdown was the level of supervision that she had at the group home, which,
See,
yeah,
okay,
that's what I
here's
think.
the listing of it said she was to live in a supervised group home. She was supposed to wear a GPS ankle monitor, regular check-ins with mental health professionals, but it doesn't tell us what those regular check-ins are.
Yeah, that's
It
that's not
says
specific enough.
it said restrictions on who she could associate with, and she was only out for 2 months.
Yeah, so
Now, the
clearly
group
she wasn't
home
restricted.
yeah, not too much. But the group home, this is the group home where she was placed. So there wasn't a second story bedroom.
Okay,
As you can
okay,
see, it's a ranch style house. And she was put in there September 2025, and it was run by Yo Quality Care, located on a residential street in Southwest Madison. The house was run by Zamza Hussein, who operates two other adult group homes in Madison. Dominion Home and Buckeye Home. And here's what's concerning is that the Wisconsin Department of Health Services have records showing that in 2024, this particular home that she was in was cited by the state for several violations, holes in the wall, dirty air vents, two residents living there with incomplete paperwork. And something to me that was a red flag is the neighbors didn't even know about this adult group home.
they don't have to tell them.
And, you know,
Oh, they
and
don't.
that
Okay. Hmm.
that's
They're
kind
not
of,
they're not sex offenders. They don't
Right.
have to report.
yeah. I mean, it's she's not, and you're right. She's not a sex offender, but I mean, she did
Mhm.
try to delete somebody. I would
Yeah.
think that would be some, because if you were living next door and
Mhm.
you had a small child.
Yeah, but everybody
Yeah,
that
but
goes away for deleting someone and gets out later in life,
mhm.
it's not like they have to be on a registry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, your
you're
neighbor could
right.
be and you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
that's why I have
like, I don't mean
cameras.
to well, so but here listen, I don't wanna
Yeah,
offend anybody if you work in a group home or anything, but group homes are notoriously terrible. And I
yeah,
don't care to put that opinion out there because it's true. The staff, a lot of times they're understaffed. A lot of times there
right,
are very few qualifications the staff have to have. Nobody's
right.
going around checking to see if the staff is doing what they're supposed to. They could be snoozing. Now, in a group
Well,
home that's supervised, the staff should never be asleep there. They should have
Kerrville, we're not
rotating.
telling you to go.
Oh,
Kerrville thinks we're
Kerrville.
telling him to go buy weapons.
Kerrville wants to start an elementary school penitentiary. Okay, I don't know.
Mhm.
He wants me to tell everyone. Joking, joking. But like, and all joking. But the busted. She said busted. He listen, Kerrville has the biggest heart on earth and he wants to protect everybody. That's all it is.
I
Trust
know.
me. But these group homes should have rotating staff that does overnights. They're awake, so they know who's coming and going out that door. And group homes
Right,
that house people like her should have locked windows so that nobody can go anywhere except in and out of that front door. Like,
right.
hello.
Eh,
So I know it's a breakdown in this group home, and I think they relied too much
yeah,
on that ankle monitor. They should have functioned as if she didn't have an ankle monitor,
yeah.
and
And
that's not what happened.
Katrina has a point too. She says, put yourself in the victim's shoes. Even as a parent, would you take
Mhm.
the chance by letting this individual roam? You know? How would
I
you
mean,
feel if it was your child they had harmed? Um,
I mean, I have
you know,
I don't think I'm a good person to ask that of because I feel like again, I don't think this had anything to do with her mental illness. I don't think that her escaping meant that she's dangerous. So like,
right.
I mean, if it was my yeah, I'm just not a good person to ask that of. Like, I don't
Well,
think that it's right to keep her in. I think, yeah, she would like think of it. If she got out in 40 years, had been institutionalized that entire time and never had a real life experience ever, and then she would just get thrown out onto the street,
right.
that would be a problem.
Yeah.
That would be a huge
And
because
I
then
mean,
she'd be
you're
homeless
wearing
and yeah,
you're wearing 2 hats because you are a
yeah,
mom, so
right.
you have that, but you're also a psychologist who deals with this,
Mhm.
and you see the terrible things that happen to these kids. Um, and I know it was reported by her that her father had SA'd her, and I
Mhm.
thought it was interesting though that the psychologist, when she was commenting, said it was she didn't say it was so, she said that's
Alleged.
what was reported
Because it
about
was not
her
her
being.
dad's dead now, and there
Yeah,
was no way to substantiate it because, like any case like this, if there's not physical evidence, it's really like you can't I mean, it's he said, she said,
yeah,
unfortunately, and
Mhm.
so they can't
yeah.
say that it was
Now I
true.
did come across one story where she actually was SA'd while she was in, jail by a
Ugh.
female inmate.
Yeah, it's not
So,
surprising, but ugh.
yeah, so this girl's messed up, and I know they
Yeah.
talked about her being very depressed and wanting friends, and,
Mhm.
so you can see how it would be easy for someone to get close to her, you know, that would want to be her friend and might not be the best person for her to be friends with.
Mhm.
But I think you're right about the group home. I know we've seen 2 group homes down in Arizona where young Native girls were that ended up deleted after
Yeah.
they left them by, going out a window or whatever.
Mhm.
So, they do have to have better supervision. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I need
but I would.
information on this ankle monitor, honestly. I really do.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Were you concerned at all about them weaning her off of her antipsychotic medication? Did
No, because she
that
was
cons
in the institution when it happened. I don't know if she's back on anything or not. But see, the whole point of the
Okay.
conditional release, and I can't believe they didn't say the frequency with which she needed to see her therapist for monitoring. I mean, it should have
Yeah,
been a certain number of times a week. for the therapist and the psychiatrist, because that's how they're going to monitor if there's any emergence of symptoms. The group home people aren't going to know what they're looking at. It has to be the
Right.
providers. So like I
Well,
am shocked at that.
and during the hearing, she was going to group and also having private
Hmm.
therapy.
Hmm.
So we don't know, was she just going to group once a week? Did she still have her private
Like, what therapist
they
was she seeing? They should have named who she was going to be seeing on the outside too, because that just assumes like she just had to find her own provider. Like what?
Yeah.
I, yeah, I feel like there's something like they're all dropped here. Um,
Yeah. Something
so who
was
knows?
definitely wrong with that. They didn't put it out. And
Yeah.
this is like what a GPS, I'm sure most of you guys know what the GPS is like. And on November 23rd at 9:30 p.m., the Department of Corrections electronic monitoring received an alert that Morgan's bracelet was malfunctioning. 9:30 p.m. At 11:30 p.m., the DOC, Department of Corrections, learned she was no longer at the group home. Around midnight, they issued an arrest warrant for Morgan. But here's where the system screwed up, because they failed to notify Madison Police Chief John Patterson. His department was not notified that Morgan had escaped until the next morning, nearly 11 hours later. So if you look at the screen, I'm putting up a picture that shows at 9:30 p.m., they get the alert, something's wrong with their monitor. 11:30 p.m. Saturday, she's not at the residence. 12 and then 12 a.m. on Sunday, they issue an arrest warrant. But 911 gets called at 7 a.m. on Sunday. And that's wrong. Because
Well,
for
here's the
someone that's
other
under
thing. Yeah, who was checking on her overnight?
yeah,
There should have been
if she's
checks
supposed to have
overnight.
strict supervision,
Hmm.
they didn't even issue a warrant by calling the police. It was actually, I think, the group home that called at 7 a.m. the next morning.
They didn't know that she wasn't in her room before that. This is what I'm
No, they
saying.
knew she
Like,
wasn't there, but they didn't call
oh,
and report it as she had run until the next morning.
oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it. Yeah, yeah.
Did they
So
say what the ankle monitor was cut off with?
Scissors.
scissors.
A pair of scissors.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
and I
saying.
asked,
What?
I contacted a private detective I know, and he said that, yeah, it's easy to cut them with plastic with scissors. He said
Oh,
that's not a
What?
it's easy to do.
that is
Mhm.
What's the
that's
point?
worthless.
Well,
It's
he said the
worthless.
thing is it's supposed to give you an alert, and when it gives you the alert, that's when they know to come check it. But
But
nobody
still,
did.
Yeah, but if it
even yeah.
if it's 12 hours later, what good does it do?
Even if
Yeah.
it's an hour
Well,
later,
Yeah.
somebody jumps on the
yeah.
bus. Like, I
Somebody
mean,
can
Well,
make a lot of tracks in an hour.
mhm,
see what these things do when they can give an alert because you didn't charge. You have to charge it.
yeah.
You have
Mhm.
to take care. So they can get alerts by you not charging it correctly and not keeping it going. And so they're supposed to then make a call. They should have made a call to the home and said, "Hey," but it wasn't till 11:30 that it was reported she wasn't at the group home. Now, I don't know if that's because the DOC called to check, or did the
Mm.
group home call and tell DOC. See, their
Oh, yeah.
communication totally wrong. And so they placed an apprehension request into their system that evening. DOC did. They put a request in to apprehend her, but they didn't tell the police.
That's so
And
weird.
so
Yeah.
I know. And so state lawmakers, of course, are furious. And State Representative Jerry O'Connor, he sits on the DOC committee. He was not happy. Let me tell you, I listened to his interview and he said he doesn't know why there was a delay. He said it's not on the Department of Corrections, and it's not acceptable. He said, frankly, it doesn't make sense. There should have been a protocol in place. What happened is someone was contacted immediately
Mhm.
because once that was cut, she ended up getting 100 miles away into Illinois from Wisconsin. She took a bus.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but the
Now
police
that
notification, that was the group home that actually called 911 the next morning.
yeah.
It was the group home, not DOC. And they're the ones that were supposed to be
Yeah,
monitoring it.
right.
So,
Somebody had asked the question of how she got a hold of a pair of scissors. Well, she's in a group home. She's not.
Yeah, she's allowed to.
Yeah, she's not in
yeah,
prison. So
yeah,
Yeah, she could have a whole set of stuff to craft with to what it like. It's not a like
yeah.
she can have sharp objects. It's not. That's the thing. This is the thing. Like she was assessed to not be dangerous
yeah.
to
Hmm.
the community. That's why she
Well,
was on conditional release, right? I mean,
we'll see. And like Representative O'Connor said, he goes, I want to know, are there other incidents happening and how
mhm.
many and how frequently is this happening? It's like, who are you guys having watch the monitors? Is Billy Bob going to sleep when he's supposed to be watching the monitors and not
Well,
checking
exactly.
on them?
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out all of this. The defense attorney at the next hearing is. We're gonna know all of this stuff of all the.
Yeah,
We're gonna know
yeah,
all the failures of the system and who didn't do their job and what because that's going to be their slant. Is that this wasn't just
exactly.
about her. This
Mm,
was about
yeah.
her not being monitored the way that she was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 24 hours later, on Sunday night, November the 24th, they found her in Posen, Illinois, about 25 minutes south of Chicago, over 100 miles from Madison. And she was with someone, and they were on a sidewalk near a truck stop. And this is a photo of them sleeping. And you see her big pink backpack there, which is going to come into play just a moment. So Morgan, at age 23, was traveling with a 43-year-old man named Chad Mecca. He identifies as a trans woman and he goes by Charlie. And according to the police report, both initially gave false names. I watched it. Morgan kept refusing to give her identity, kept saying, why do I have to tell you? Finally, she wrote it down. She took his notepad and wrote down her name. And because they kept telling her, well, we have to know before we let you go, because you guys can't be sleeping here. And I mean, she was polite. And so was the Charlie really didn't want to talk. She kept her head down. And actually, it was very strange. I know her attorney is going to say that Charlie did this. She was the one protecting him or her. She was
Yeah.
protecting Charlie. She kept asking him, can you let her go? I've done something terrible. She doesn't know what I've done. Let her
I don't think
go.
that's true though. I don't think that's
Yeah.
true because of the statement Charlie issued later
Okay.
um, indicated that she did know what Morgan did, and that something about believing that um, Morgan wasn't that person anymore, that
Okay.
she had
Well,
changed.
I
So,
I know
Mm.
she did tell the police, she said, "Just Google my name,"
yeah,
because I think they put her name in and at first, nothing was coming up.
sh- she gave the name Stephanie at first, and he came back
Yeah,
as
but
like, well, now
after
I know
she
you gave
wrote
me.
her name,
Oh, oh.
because even after she wrote her name, it took a while before they found out who she was. It did not
I
come
think
up
they probably looked her up.
automatically.
They might have looked her up just in the state system. That's what I wondered if they like
Yeah,
missed the fact that she said she was from Wisconsin, like, and they just looked her,
yeah,
and then they did a deeper dive and through dispatch, like, did a deeper dive and then found out.
yeah. And Charlie said that she hated the way that Morgan had been treated, at the group home. So, I guess we're gonna find out what kind of
I
was
suspect
happening.
that I suspect that the treatment was because Morgan was told you can't see Charlie anymore. Like
Yeah,
they can't come over here anymore, and that
right.
was the treatment that the two of them didn't like.
And Charlie had been crawling in the window, you guys. When they were told that she could no longer be there with Morgan, Charlie started sneaking in her window. And that's
Yeah.
why Dr. Rachel was saying it's so important that she should have had locked windows.
Yeah.
But they took that Greyhound bus from Wisconsin to Chicago. They walked to Posen, but they ran out of money. So this wasn't planned,
Yeah. No.
or it was badly planned. They were discussing going to Nashville. Like,
Well,
what
they
were
were
you
going
gonna
in
Right.
the
do in
right
Nashville?
direction.
Excuse me
So
1 second. I'm going to mute myself. I have to tell my son something. Hold on.
Okay, no problem. So the police did find Morgan carrying a backpack, and in it was a pink journal with the words "Homeless Couples Guidebook" written on it,
Hmm.
which was kind of interesting.
yeah.
Um, and Charlie was charged with criminal trespass and obstruction of identification because she wouldn't tell who she was, and was cited and given a court date in January. But then Charlie was released. Um, Morgan was held, of course, without bail. They had an extradition, hearing, and she waived her right. She waived her right to be extradited. So her, and that was on November 26th. And of course, they didn't film it, so they just had a drawing of what of her being in the hearing, and they revoked her conditional release, and she's scheduled for December 22nd uh, to have another hearing, and they said she will be sent back to the mental institution. So that's where they're gonna send her back to Winnebago Mental Health. And of course, the prosecutor, Leslie Bose, I can't, the district attorney, I'm not sure how you say her name, when she learned of Morgan's release or escape over the
Mhm.
weekend, she said it confirmed her concerns we've raised from the very beginning. She says, "We have consistently and firmly opposed her release because of her conduct has repeatedly shown that she poses a risk to the community." And and, and I do have a
I
little
don't agree with
problem with
that,
that
but
because she
yeah.
didn't do anything violent. And I mean, it's not that we want
That's
her
what I'm
to,
saying. We don't know
you
if she's
know.
dangerous right now. Like, we can't assume that she's dangerous right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She committed a crime and she needs to be
Yes.
held accountable for it. And she probably
Correct.
does need to go back to the hospital because I know was it Lunsford? Was that the psychologist,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
blonde girl that okay. Because
Mhm.
she had said that Morgan was good at following,
Mhm.
directions, and apparently she's not, you guys. I
Again,
mean,
highly structured setting, right? Like, you have to
yes,
consider the environment she was in. It was a highly structured setting. I'm sure she couldn't get away with not
right,
following the rules, quite honestly, but, like, because she was very
right.
supervised, which is what it was supposed to be like on the outside too.
Okay. A Pammy and Kerrville, be nice. Fella doesn't want to separate you. If you guys have questions, throw them in. I'm sorry if we've skipped
Oh,
over any
yeah.
questions, you guys. We're just trying to get everything in on this one because this is a big one, and this one, and I mean, and
Oh,
I
Avery.
understand. I do understand a lot of what Dr. Rachel is saying. Because where do we start treating mental illness before we get to this point?
Mhm.
Where was the treatment for this young girl before she got to where she committed a
Non-existent.
crime? Yeah.
Yeah.
L Let's see, our little Irish Luna Princess says, "My question for Dr. Rachel was d" whoa, what happened?
It was gone because
She
I
disappeared her
think it was
message.
answered. It was answered
Oh,
earlier. Up.
okay.
Yeah. Um.
A Avery, to clarify, I
Yeah.
think that her crime in 2014 was mental illness related. I'm talking about the recent escape. I don't think was based
Yeah.
Right.
in anything that we can say was psychosis or anything like that. Like, I
She
think
was
it was
running with a
dumb and
friend.
immature, and she was with a friend that she shouldn't have been with. And
Hmm.
Right.
yeah.
And, this is Morgan's attorney, and he's been her attorney since she was 12. And he did voice his concern about her vulnerability. Even in the
Mhm.
hearings, he talked about people, older men, taking advantage of her, that she's easily manipulated. And so he feels that Charlie manipulated her, and he could be right. It's hard to say. Um, I mean,
I'm
this is a
sorry,
tough case.
there's
Go
no
ahead.
40-something-year-old man. Like, he's a 40-something-year-old man that said this girl is his best friend, who he's known for
Yeah.
2 months,
Mm-hmm.
and she's 22, 23. Like, I'm
Yeah, they're
sorry.
20 years
Well,
difference between them.
yeah.
I have a feeling Charlie was homeless. I'm just saying. She met him
I
at the
think so
church.
too.
Does he not have any friends? That's why.
Yeah.
Well, right, but,
And
like,
so
also his
and they
choice,
att
Yeah.
though,
Yeah.
like, to attach to
yeah,
her?
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think he was crawling in the window so he had somewhere to sleep.
I think so too.
Um, Katrina, and I understand how you're feeling because there are
Mhm.
times I feel like that too, that, yeah, she was able to harm someone by harming them 19 times, and that
Mm-hmm.
that could still be a
Right.
threat.
That risk will never go
Because
away. It's about mitigating
yeah,
factors and what has
yeah.
changed from age 12 to age 23.
Oh, Kervil, that's a good question. Who was paying attention at the church? I mean, was she working there, like, volunteering? Was nobody at the church aware she was around?
I
That's
have a
another
lot of
question.
questions. I have a lot of questions about why was she going there? Why was she there? What was she doing? What peer group was she associated with there? Yeah, was she volunteering? Was she working there? Was she going for services? Was she
Right.
yeah, like how did she meet and then did they know who she was? Which they don't have to know who she is. I mean,
Yeah,
again, she's doesn't you don't have to tell people.
Mm-mm.
right. And let's see, Avery, you said, do you think she should be fully reassessed by a psychiatrist now that she's 23? Well, she was fully assessed,
Mhm.
or wait until she's 20. I mean, she was fully assessed before the hearing.
Many times. Yeah, many times for this hearing and just in general, but specifically for the conditional
Yeah,
release, she was assessed by several people.
yeah. It was a continual assessment. Um, you know. So, no, I just totally, um, I think Wisconsin needs to change that about letting them apply every 6 months. I mean, that's just me. I feel like at least make them wait a year, you know, because or even 2 to just
Yeah,
something,
and,
because I
like
just think 6 months is too soon, and you have to think of the victim. I'm sorry, you
yeah,
have to think of the victim.
yeah. But also, it's like, I feel like, yeah, make it, like, once a year, and the exception would
Yeah,
be the psychiatrist could petition the court and say, "Hey," or if they get denied that year, the judge could say, "Okay,
right,
we are really close. I'll let you apply again in 6 months." Like, with the exception of a judge,
right.
maybe, if they seem, like, really close to release, but, like, yeah, I agree with you, that's excessive.
Yeah,
Like,
because and
constantly working on petitions.
that was another thing, is the victim, Payton, was not told for 14 hours that she had escaped. 14 hours by the time that girl found out that the person that had harmed her
Yeah, that's
was
not good.
out, and that had to be terrifying.
Mm.
I'm sorry,
Mhm.
and I can't imagine how her parents felt,
Yeah, I can't
because you
either.
don't know if this girl's coming after your daughter again, and I mean, yes, it appears she wasn't dangerous, she was just running off, but they didn't know that,
Yeah,
you know? I think some of these, group homes, I'm finding out that a lot of them are just owned by people that wanna own property and make money, and there really isn't a lot of structure and help, because even some of the sober houses are like that.
yeah,
It's like alls they're doing is running your insurance through and getting money,
right.
and
Mm.
that's all they care about.
Yeah.
Avery, sorry, another question. Do you agree she'd be more susceptible to hyper-religion in bad ways, which her with her diagnosis? Seems certain churches could be problematic.
I don't think there would be any correlation to that. I don't there's no, like, history with her and religious themes that I know of. Um,
Well, the only thing I would ask about that, Dr. Rachel, is because, one of the cases we covered, which was, missing person, Joseph Fox, he's a native from North Dakota, and he got into a religious, organization because he's a vulnerable person and easily manipulated,
mhm,
and they ended up putting him in sober house, um, to make money off of him, and then they sent him over to New Zealand to another religious facility, and then he was supposed to go do some special work after the classes in Fiji, and then they started taking money out of his account and left him stranded in Fiji. So I you know, I think what I don't
I
know if
think
this
it
is what Avery's asking, but
yeah.
some of these religious groups that get into these group homes and sober houses, that's I could see where that would be a concern.
Yeah, I think that's not really specific to religion, though. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah,
she's vulnerable to, like, any kind of group with bad
right,
intentions.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I
right.
don't know that I
Yeah,
would be concerned about her
yeah.
going to church, if that make you know?
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. No,
Now,
and I agree with you there.
if she was like, "Oh, these people, these 4 people meet in the woods, it's the church they're starting," then I would be like, I don't" you
Yeah.
know what I
Why?
mean?
Why?
But,
Yeah,
Why are they meeting in you know
like,
in
I
the
don't think that's a
woods?
church, but,
Yeah.
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 But I just think some of these people that are doing it for money and calling it a church or a
Right.
religion, that I that's my concern because it seems like
Yeah.
'cause I'm doing some investigating in Arizona on some of these sober houses and group homes that are run by religious organizations, they call themselves, and they're getting found out, people are getting arrested, and people aren't getting the help that they say that they're getting money for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't really call them religious organizations either, they're false
Yeah.
religious
Right, right.
organizations. But I could see where maybe Avery was, and I don't know if that was her point is
Yeah.
could she get caught up in something like that? And I think
Oh,
any
yeah.
vulnerable person could,
Right, right. I
you
think if it's
know?
like an established church where she was volunteering and they maybe, have outreach that they help disadvantaged people, I mean, I think it's probably not that big of a deal, but yeah, I mean, if she were to join some off brand something, like strange thing no one's heard of
Well,
or
there's a
yeah, I mean,
difference between work, somebody working in a soup kitchen and
right.
somebody being asked to go out and sell flowers for a living. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a difference.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. And I agree with you on that, doc. I do. So that's,
Yeah.
like my main concerns with her was because of the antipsychotic medication and not knowing if they put her back on it.
Yeah, I don't
And
know if they did or not, and I think and that's why, like, even if for a year she didn't have any symptoms and now she's released, like, that should have been very specifically part of her release plan because likely es especially because, like, so she didn't have symptoms during that time afterwards. Well, she's in a highly
right.
supported, very low stress environment, right? It's like if you're
Yes.
schizophrenic, symptoms are going to come back at some point. So she's on the outside, which is going to be more stressful for her
Sure.
a and is going to present all kinds of challenges. She needed to specifically have someone monitoring her for those specific symptoms on a very regular
Right.
basis, like at least once a week. Have
Yeah.
not just staff check-ins, but actual therapy. So I am like really concerned to hear about that. Like that was not specifically outlined of who she's going to see and how many times a week, and are they reporting back to the court to make sure she's compliant? Like what like that to me should have been part of her conditional release is like if you miss a therapy appointment and you're not like deathly ill, you're going back. Like that
Right.
should have been very strict to me. Like you don't miss appointments. and your therapist can ex parte communicate with the court to tell me that you missed. Like, that should have
Right.
been part of and that's what I expect from a conditional release plan, honestly, from someone with that background.
Well, I kind of feel like she should have at least had, you know, 1 week once a week, a private therapy session, and then at
Yes.
least once a week, a group. So she should have been going at least twice a week, but once maybe in a
Mhm.
group, but once
Yes.
privately so that
Even if
somebody
yeah.
actually knew.
I saw somebody say, "I don't think group therapy does anything, it's BS." But I will say, and I know where you're coming from that, but I will say it's another set of eyes on her. So even if the
Yeah,
actual therapy is not doing much, at least somebody is seeing her interact with other people, is seeing her communicate, can assess how she's thinking and what, like for the assessment piece of it. So I'm just like, that blows my mind that that was not outlined specifically in the conditional release. I'm shocked.
and and how does someone like Morgan, who gets released after 7 years of treatment, how do the mental health professionals balance the progress, like you said, going from the controlled environment to versus their ability to function in a community with unpredictable variables like her meeting
Mhm.
Charlie?
Mhm. Well, that should be talked about. That should be like the therapist should be getting feedback from the group home about how she's doing to integrate all like, there should be releases required for collaboration between professionals, and those things should be addressed. Like, "Tell me about this person. What do you like about them? What do he's a 42-year-old man. Do you see similarities to what happened before?" Like, this kind of stuff should all be very specifically addressed. Talking about
Right.
what the current stressors are, how her problem solving is going, and what she doesn't have someone to talk to if she doesn't like what's going on in the group home. Help her navigate those conflicts and navigate her discomfort with maybe what's going on. Like, if she didn't have somebody doing that with her during this time, that's big time concerning.
Yeah. Because, it could be a situation where someone in the group home found out who she was, done research, was teasing her, I don't know. I'm
You
just
never
being.
know.
And so she would have needed help with that. And so
Mhm.
you could see how she might reach out to someone like Charlie who was more sympathetic and would
Yeah,
maybe listen to her.
yeah,
Because if
who
the
would catch?
people in the group home weren't kind, she's gonna look, because that was one of the main things I picked out of the hearing was they talked about how lonely she was and she wanted
Mhm.
friends, you
Yeah.
know? A
So the first
and
person
who
whose ear
wouldn't?
she could catch? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Kerrville, I'm in a basement group and I do not think the therapy is working for me. Come out of the basement, Kerrville. We want you out of the basement, dear. This is your group therapy. Please come out of the basement.
Look, I am
Um,
all shut up, Gabrielle. I am all for any opportunity for professionals to lay eyes on her.
yeah,
It
yeah,
I can't not that I can't wait, but I am very interested for this hearing to see what the defense uncovers. I mean, maybe even,
yeah,
the prosecution wants her in jail, let's be real. Like, they probably wish that she could just go to prison forever. So they're not gonna have any
yeah.
sympathy for any and they're not gonna wanna admit to any, um, pitfalls you know, so
And I am kind of torn between because the stigma and the barriers people with mental illness face when they are trying to reintegrate. I'll
Mhm,
be honest, I'm torn over it because like I even understand the neighbors once they found out
mhm,
that she was living in their little quiet neighborhood and they were a little shocked. So, trying to balance someone's right to their treatment and rehabilitation because
mhm,
even prison, it's supposed to be about rehabilitation. Even if she had gone to prison,
mhm.
eventually there probably would have been rehabilitation and either parole or something. So, it's kind of like where do we go? What is the best option to handle? I think it's we need to stop pretending that mental health is not a medical issue.
Right.
Because if she had child diabetes, would anybody have made fun of her? Would anyone be
Yeah.
saying anything about her? This is a medical issue. She's schizophrenic. I mean, it's totally documented. Her father was schizophrenic.
Mhm.
He was hospitalized 4 times as a teen. Um, so I mean, it's in the family. She had the genetics for it. It didn't, her brother seems to be fine. So it's not like everybody that has a
Right.
parent, you
No.
know. But unfortunately, Morgan didn't get the good roll of the dice.
Yeah.
Um, so and the fact that that home they put her in, that place had, incomplete paperwork on their residence, that's concerning.
Yeah.
If you if you're a
Not
group home
surprising,
and
but concerning. Yeah.
and this is where you choose to put her, I mean, what other options do we have? Is there any way for them to have more of a facility where, like you were talking about, they have cottages or something where they get more freedom, but they're close to the hospital? Is that something we have to look at? I'm not talking about
Yeah. In a
asylums
perfect
because that
world.
doesn't work.
Yeah. In a
Yeah.
perfect world. But here's the thing, it comes down to money too, because if you're gonna have
Yeah.
highly trained professional staff, it's really expensive to run.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. And these private companies that just are like, I'm going to open a group home, clearly it's not very well regulated. Um,
Yeah.
or if they were had citations, like it's interesting because the DHS people like didn't were very concerned about her release too. And they were very much on the side of the state, like with concerns about like the books she was reading and the drawings and all this kind of stuff. But then, the judge, there was a time constraint put on them for sure. Like they had a group home, but it was too close to the victim, right? Mileage wise. So they
Okay.
had to find something further out. And they had a time, the judge was like, well, how long before you can put this into place? Because the conditional release has been approved. So we need to get her out of here. Right. Like, and so
Right.
they had to just find somewhere to put her. And so I don't know how much research goes into that or what. So
Somewhere I thought I read, and I could be mistaken, I thought one of the homes turned her down, but I could be wrong.
yeah, I don't
I
know.
thought
It's
one
possible. It's possible.
you
Some
know
group homes have, it depends. Like some group homes have conditions where like you can't have a history of violence. In fact, it's really hard to place some kids in group homes, like if they have any kind of like history of violence, because the other people that live there are vulnerable too.
Mhm.
Um, so some group homes are for some people and some try to keep it around the same age. Some people doesn't matter. Like it all just depends. But she could potentially have been in that home with people who weren't mentally ill, who were just like in a wheelchair or developmentally disabled or, who knows? Like I don't know
Right.
exactly what that group home is like. But I have a picture
Yeah.
in my head. I'm just like I'm kind of like jaded toward group. I have a picture in my head of who the staff probably was and what they were not doing correctly. And like
Yeah.
it's just not wouldn't be shocking if they uncovered that there was largely no supervision there.
Well, and then we had the huge malfunction with the Department of Corrections not notifying
Yeah,
the
huge.
police, not notifying the victim. Um, I mean,
Revealed she's
those are
allowed to
the
have scissors.
Jeez. Oh my
I'm gonna
goodness.
I'm gonna smack you. Okay. She didn't stab anybody, okay, with the scissors. She cut off her
Yeah.
monitor. She was crafting, okay? Leave her alone.
We don't know. They could have been child scissors.
Oh,
We
shoot.
don't
Yeah.
know. I've never tried to cut off a monitor. I've never had one.
Right.
But if you get one, Kerrville, please let us know how easy it is to take
Oh
off.
my gosh. You're so funny.
Just
You're so funny.
joking.
So this case is not over, right?
No.
No.
Okay. So
Mm-mm.
The
we're
No.
22nd,
we're
she goes
we're
back to
still
court.
we
Yeah.
there's still more coming on this case.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
Yeah.
okay.
She has to, on
All
the
right.
22nd, she'll go back to she'll be in Wisconsin. She'll go to her hearing and they could put some criminal charges on her.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Um,
They
but
have
more
petitioned
more
for
than like,
her to be revoked, like her release to be revoked. They petitioned for that, and I'm sure it will be.
yeah. And who knows how long, I don't know all the Wisconsin laws. Could they put a longer thing on saying, well, you can't even apply for maybe a year or so? Or are they
I don't
able to
know.
do that? I wonder in
Hmm,
Wisconsin. I have no idea.
good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, I didn't research that. Um, but
I
yeah,
mean, she can't be resentenced. That's not gonna happen. So it'll just be
right.
yeah, yeah.
But it is
Okay.
sad she only lasted 2 months on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, 2 months, and she took off.
That's what I'm saying, like,
Um,
all of this stuff should be set up, like, the day after she moved in, she should have had an appointment with a therapist.
Hmm.
Like,
yeah,
this should have been there should have been an appointment listed that was already made with a certain provider, should have been confirmed she attended, like, that's what they can do this, like, that's what conditional release is. Like, they can I can't believe it wasn't specific like that. That's wild
yeah.
to me.
Well, and the thing is with her taking off like that and then them sleeping behind a truck stop, that's really just impulsive decision making, you
Yeah.
know? And that kinda goes with schizophrenia, doesn't it? Sometimes
Mhm.
that they can be very impulsive,
Well, I think it's part of
even
the
when they're
social
stable.
problem solving. Yeah.
Okay,
It's like a deficit, like that so, like, whenever somebody has their like, for psychotic break from schizophrenia, there's a marked deficit that occurs that doesn't ever go away, with regard to, like, social functioning, um,
right.
and awareness and all of that, and so I that's what I think that was, is her like, and partly why I see her as a younger teenager, because it's sort of that level of mentality, and
Right.
which makes it even more concerning that this 40-something-year-old guy, although I don't know how well he's functioning, but or she's functioning, but this 40-something-year-old is best
I
friends
don't
now with someone who functions like a
yeah.
14-year-old. It's just
I don't think Charlie was functioning as well either, to be honest with you.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think they were 2
psychologically
lost
or
people
intellectually. Yeah.
2 lost people that somehow connected, and that's why I almost wonder if at the church, was there some kind of group therapy that she went to, and he was in therapy? I don't know.
I would
You know,
think
I'm
I think Doc made a good point that she may have been volunteering there and he was there to
yeah,
partake in services because she wouldn't need those services. The state's providing her with what she needs.
Hmm.
So she wouldn't need to go to the church to get food or,
right.
clothes or anything like that. She wouldn't need that. So she was probably
Unless the
there.
group home was that bad. They weren't
We're gonna
feeding
find
her.
out.
Yeah, because her attorney, I mean, he's gearing up.
Oh,
He's ready because, he's worried about her. He's known her since she was 12. And one thing I've heard before, and maybe you can confirm it for me, is that if someone has a serious trauma when they're young like this, whatever age, that sometimes their mental capacity to continue growing kind of stops at that age.
you can be stunted for sure.
And I'm kinda wondering if that's what she was 12 years old, you guys, when
When she was
and I mean,
incarcerated.
I'm not excusing what the girl did, and by
Right.
no means.
Mm-mm.
But at 12, I mean, look at your own children. If at 12 years old,
They went to
and
jail,
then
to adult jail.
yeah, and then she gets SA'd in there, you guys, by a female inmate. Then they end up putting her in a mental facility, and Lord knows what happens even there.
Yeah,
I'm you
yeah.
know, because let's be honest, after we talked to Professor McLeod, wackos will go where the children are.
Yep.
You
Yes,
know,
always.
Definitely.
the evil people find where the kids are and they get jobs. So,
Mhm.
you have to work, from 12 to 23, this girl, she hasn't had a good relationship with her family.
Thanks for
They
being with
said
us, therapist. You know.
Thank
she
you.
had hey, night, darling. She does they said she doesn't have a good relationship with her mom, but she does have some now, and her brother and her grandmother, but she isn't super close. It's
Yeah.
tenuous, they said. So, who does this girl have? When you stop and think about it, who does she have? Her attorney and her therapists? and her those are
That's her
adults.
support system, and she lost those when she left, right? So she's not seeing the
Yeah.
same people anymore, so that's I mean, that's a big deal. These are adults that have been parental figures to her,
Hmm.
essentially, and she lost them by leaving. So, I
And
mean,
it's
that's why I'm saying she needed to see someone to start establishing that relationship immediately after she was released because she just lost
almost like
her major
it's kind of
support
like getting
system.
kicked out of the nest.
Yeah, like, your parents are like, "You're out, get out," and I mean, really, it's
Yeah. You almost wonder if they couldn't have at least had her new therapist that she was supposed to see come to the hospital for at least 1 or 2 visits to at least
a
make
good
a
point.
connection so you could meet them.
Yeah,
Because was it like a
and who knows,
cold thing that once you're out?
maybe they did, I doubt it, but maybe they did, it's
'Cause I kinda feel like maybe a little bit, because I know, Doctor Lungford made the comment, or Lunford made the comment that she hadn't gone through all the materials, and I was kinda shocked. I was like, "This is serious, and you haven't gone through everything?" I mean, I know there's a lot to go through,
Yeah.
but she kinda was a little, blasé about it, like,
Mhm.
but yet she was the one that stopped her from getting out the last time, and
Yeah,
she did feel like this time she was ready. So
yeah,
she'd known the girl since 2014. It wasn't like she
yeah,
didn't know who Morgan was. It wasn't like she was a doctor that had no
right,
connection with her.
right.
But
Yeah, and
we
they do
have to
take the seriously. No one wants to be responsible for what happened, you know what I mean? Like, no one wants to be responsible for something bad happening. So they do take it really seriously, like,
right. So we
yeah,
have to learn how to balance compassion for someone like Morgan with severe mental illness against public safety concerns,
right.
you know?
And again,
And
I'm not convinced there was a public safety imminent concern now.
yeah,
If she was never found, yes, because she's
right.
not in treatment anymore and nobody's watching her, and so, yes,
And she
eventually, but
wouldn't have had
imminently.
meds. She wouldn't have had her
Right, that's what
meds,
I
whatever
mean,
she was
yeah,
on.
Hmm.
Yeah.
right.
And Kerrville, I understand. He said, "It bugs me she got an unbelievable opportunity and she tossed it, and the 43-year-old should have some blame because there's no way
Mhm.
they weren't aware with an ankle monitor." You're right,
I
Kerrville.
agree,
You're
I
you're right.
agree. That
But it
person
was
should have been
odd
the
how she
adult to say, "Don't do this, don't throw your life away, don't," but
yeah. That's why sometimes I wonder if Charlie was quite mentally because she when
yeah.
you if you watched when they got stopped and everything and arrested, she was trying to protect Charlie.
Charlie was very childlike, I will say that, yeah.
Yeah. So it might not be he might not be or she might not be totally able to cope. And sadly they ran
Mhm,
into each other. And we have to remember her escape did not include violence. She didn't hurt anyone. She didn't threaten anybody.
mhm.
So that there is that factor.
Mhm.
Um
No, so Pammy said, "Do we need Morgan to actually hurt someone again before there's an imminent threat?" So, no, I
no.
would define an imminent threat being that symptoms of psychosis have reemerged or are starting to reemerge, that she is making weird comments about it, that, like, there's a lot of signs that would slowly lead up to something like that happening again, and I would say imminent threat equals any of those things popping up, which is why the contact with professionals immediately and frequently is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we talk about mental illness and we talk about young people not being
Mhm.
fully grown, mentally fully grown until they're like 25 years old. So, how do we then treat mental illness in young people? Because we're seeing it more and more with young people committing crimes.
Mhm.
How do we treat this?
Mhm.
What do we do?
It's almost an epidemic, and that's such a loaded multifactorial solution. You
Right,
know, with starting with family, like, there's so many factors that can go against a kid, and
right.
just totally depends on their environment, who's around them, who can recognize what. Schools are overcrowded and understaffed. Therapy offices are understaffed and don't have appointments. Like it can take a long time to even get an appointment if someone does recognize.
Right.
There's a lot of things working against child mental health right now. Um,
Yeah.
you know, it's a very underserved population.
Hmm.
As many providers as we do have, it is so underserved. It is so hard to get a child into therapy anywhere. Um,
That's something maybe we all need to keep talking about,
Yeah,
and we all
I,
need to
I,
keep
yeah, I
bringing it
think
up.
it's been, it's not to be a negative but we're knocking on 2 hours here, and maybe
I
we
know I
need to
need to go to
circle
bed soon.
back. We need to
Yeah.
circle back on this, especially after the next what happens with the
Hearing
next trial
Yeah.
or whatever.
for sure,
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah,
we'll have another discussion.
yeah,
Mhm.
And Katrina, you're right. We have to learn from your mistakes and hope that the mistakes don't ruin somebody's life, because we have to
Yeah.
remember Peyton.
mm-hmm, yep,
Peyton was
Yes.
only 12. She survived because that little girl was tough.
mm-hmm,
She was a survivor,
Very, very.
and she's having to live with physical and emotional scars for the rest of her life.
Mhm. Yep,
So you have to honor the victim's trauma and her right to safety, while
yep,
also addressing the perpetrator's mental illness.
right.
So, let's make sure we think about that. We see some of these school kids that go in and take weapons and do terrible things.
yep,
And a lot of times we see that there was warning signs,
Yeah. Most of
that
the
they should
time,
have
there are
had
warning signs.
that they should have had some therapy.
yep,
So let's remember that this is a big subject. We're going to continue talking about
mhm,
it. Um, we know that Anissa's got out and seems to be very successful, because we have not heard about her. So
Mhm.
does they're going to take care of Morgan. She's going to get some more therapy, I'm sure.
It will
Hopefully
be
they
a
will
long
prepare.
time before it'll be a long time before
Yeah,
she gets out at this point. She's gonna have to
yeah,
somehow earn trust, and,
yeah,
it's gonna be based on these relationships she seeks out for the most part, I think,
yeah.
or that
yeah,
come to her, and she's gonna need a lot of work with the social cognition piece of it.
Right. And this case does raise some enormous questions about how we handle juveniles and the serious mental illness. And we will have Dr. Rachel come back and talk about this.
Yay.
And if there's a certain case you guys are all thinking about, I mean, we'll talk about what happens with her hearing. But if there's even
Yeah,
another case, there have been some other, young ones that have committed some horrible crimes. We'll be glad to talk about that,
for sure.
and see what we can do. Um, because I think it's important. And Dr. Rachel, we really appreciate you coming tonight
very
Oh,
and
much
thank
hanging
so.
out
you.
with us. And I think we all
Man,
got some insight, and hopefully maybe learned a thing or two. But really quickly, I know we've run later than I've ever run, but let's quick go over some missing people, because we can't forget them. And when you're out in public, you guys be aware. Sometimes people leave voluntarily and then they get in trouble. So, and we know trafficking does happen and they become victims. So you could be the person that saves somebody's life. This is Geneva Smith. She's 23 years old. She's been missing since November 20th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon from Anchorage, Alaska. She was last seen in the 3400 block of Septipella Drive. She has brown eyes, black hair. She's 5'3" and weighs 105 pounds. She was last seen with a green jacket and a blue and purple dress and black leggings and black boots. So if you have any information, contact Anchorage Police at 907-786-8900. And the case number is 2536084. This is Jamasona Summer Monclair. She's 16. She's been missing since November 24th from the Roosevelt County, Montana. and she has brown eyes, brown hair. She's 5'5", 150 pounds. Any information on her, contact Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office at 406-653-6240. Kate Waller, 15 years old, you guys, September 17th, Oklahoma City. We don't have a lot of information. The people that we know that do our posters, I use a lot of them from the Stolden, and now I can't think, my mind just went blank. But Batty and those guys do their best to get as much information as they can. Sometimes it's not given to them, so they do what they can just to get someone's name out there. So let's find Katie. The police department in Norman is 405-321-1600. She does have an NCMEC number, which is M as in Michael, 3186833366 or 206-8211. You can also call the hotline at 1-800-843-5678. Doc will put these in the description. And lastly, we have Renee King. He's 58 years old. They're very concerned. He's been missing since October 18th around 4 p.m. from the Gull Bay First Nation area in Ontario, Canada. He's 6'2", weighs 250 pounds, has short, dark gray hair with some white sprinkled in it, brown eyes. They believe he was possibly wearing a dark blue jeans, a t-shirt, and a fluorescent jacket, and his running shoes with yellow stripes. He's known to frequent Thunder Bay. They have a $25,000 reward for him. So let's see if someone can help find him. Contact Armstrong OPP at 1-888-310-1122. Reference number E as in Edward, 251-442783. Or contact Crime Stoppers, 1-800-222-8477. Or you can also call 911 or your local police. But yeah, we really appreciate the people that put the flyers out. It means an awful lot to get these flyers out. So let's find some of these people. Truth seekers, this case is far from over. Morgan Geyser's hearing is scheduled for December 22nd. You know, a judge is going to decide whether she returns to Winnebago Mental Health Facility and for how long, because there could be a lot of modifications.
Mhm.
And she could have some criminal charges because she escaped. So this case has made us really grapple with some uncomfortable questions that we've all had. Can someone who committed extreme violence as a mentally ill child ever be safely reintegrated into society? How do we protect public safety while providing humane treatment for severe mental illness? What is justice like in these cases? How do we honor Payton, her survival and trauma, while acknowledging Morgan's mental illness? And should neighbors, they think they should be notified? Something to think about. Why did it take 11 hours for the local police to be notified? And another 3, a total of 14 before Payton and her family got notified. Those are questions that have to have answers. And we don't pretend these complex cases don't exist. We have to demand better for the mental health of our young people and adults and the criminal justice system. You can't just lock people up and think they're going to get better. They don't. We have to demand protection for vulnerable children and potential victims and children who have undiagnosed mental illness. So let's work on that mental illness before the crime. Don't take mental illness as a dirty word. Like I said, if she had childhood diabetes, we wouldn't think anything of it.
Mhm.
So we have to demand accountability when the system fails. When the Department of Correction doesn't notify people, just call them on it. When a group home has violations, call them on it. These are things that we can do. But Morgan was a sick child. She needed help long before she picked up that weapon. She didn't get it until after she had already destroyed multiple lives. Remember, it could happen to any child. So be aware of the children in your life. See if they have some issues. See what we can do to help them. Be there for them. Every killer depends on our silence. Don't give it to them. If you know something, speak up because wasn't a mannequin. It never is. Remember, someone knows something. They always do. And silence is betrayal. So if you have a story you want us to tell, please email us at trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. We really appreciate you coming out tonight. Thursday is
Yes,
always
love you guys.
our native and indigenous stories that we tell on the missing and murdered indigenous people. Dr. Rachel, thank you so much. Are there any closing words you
Oh.
want to say, darling?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love coming and talking to you guys. You do such an awesome job, and it's just great to connect with everybody and talk about this stuff. So, thank you. And I love all of you guys, everybody who's hung in there.
Well, we appreciate
Even
you.
Kerrville.
Kerrville, we love you. And that's the thing. Debate is good and conversation is good. Those are not evil words. Everybody has a right to their feelings. Good discussion. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
This is how we make progress and get change. Say goodnight, Doc.
Good night, Doc.
We love you all. And remember, the criminals never stop, so we don't either. Until next time, we're going to keep fighting for justice, and we'll see you Thursday night on Justice After Dark. Ciao, everybody.
Bye.
When the crimes don't make sense and the answers seem far, when justice falls short and we're left with the scars, there's a guide through the darkness, a light in the maze. Dr. Rachel walks with us through the mind's tangled ways. She's not treating patients, just helping us see the mysteries of mind. This knowledge comes free. The brain has corridors surpassing material plays. Not every haunting needs walls, just the web we must face. Walk in the web through the mystery of the mind, searching for answers that are so hard to find. When violence erupts and when nothing makes sense, we need understanding, a different defense. She helps us make sense through the fog and the fear. Can we balance protection with humanity here? Not cracks but chasms where the broken fall through. When the system fails those who don't know what they do. Should we care for the mind like we care for the heart? When someone's not whole, where does justice start? A chamber, a house, or a web that we weave. The mind holds the secrets we're trying to believe. Walk in the web through the mystery of the mind, searching for answers that are so hard to find. When violence erupts and when nothing makes sense, we need understanding, a different defense. She helps us make sense through the fog and the fear. Can we balance protection with humanity here? We're walking a tightrope, it's hard to command between care for the broken and safety's demand. To keep people safe when the danger is real. Young and old alike, how do we help them heal? Dr. Rachel brings knowledge to light up the way through the maze of the mind where the answers may lay. Walk in the web through the mystery of the mind. Justice and mercy can both intertwine when mental health matters. injustice still prevailed.